Before anything else, I have to apologize for the atrocity that is the thumbnail, but, well, you clicked on this video for a reason. So, recently, The Exorcism released. It stars Russell Crowe as a priest doing an exorcism. And that's about all I know about it because I haven't watched it. Listen, I'm not paying like $40 to sit in an oddly damp theater in an uncomfortably sticky chair between two sweaty, greasy douchebags just to watch Russell Crowe sleepwalk his way through a movie that he already made last year. And with how the critics are absolutely annihilating this movie, I don't think it's worth experiencing the feeling of having somebody else's sweat roll over my cheeks. So instead, I watched The Pope's Exorcist, a completely unrelated movie starring Russell Crowe as a priest doing an exorcism. So the movie's quote-unquote based on real events, as Russell Crowe plays Gabriel Amorth, who was the IRL chief exorcist of the Vatican from the 80s to 2016. I'll give you a few fun little facts about him. He fought against the Germans in World War II, claimed to have performed over 160,000 exorcisms over the course of his life, thought that Harry Potter was evil, and he once said that yoga is satanic because it's Asian. The movie itself is absolutely atrocious and also the most fun I've had with a movie in a while. Don't get me wrong, it is terrible, but it's so terrible in some scenes that it ends up being hilarious. Here, you'll see what I mean. Oh, yeah, before we get into the movie though, if you like this video, remember to subscribe, like, comment. I'm not asking. That's a joke, YouTube. It's not serious. I can't actually threaten you to do it. Please don't terminate me. So the movie opens up with Gabriel arriving at a rural farm in Italy. Some kid's been possessed and he's here to do a bit of an exorcism. The kid's speaking British, cause I guess English is satanic, which honestly does seem pretty accurate. Gabriel basically calls the demon a pussy and says that it probably couldn't even possess a pig. So the demon's like,
"Yes, I can, bitch."
So Gabriel brings in a pig, the demon possesses the pig, and Gabriel tells some guy to shoot the pig. And that's apparently all you need to deal with a demon. I like this opening. I like how Gabriel comes across as this badass exorcist, like an exorcist John Wick. And it sets up a pretty serious and dark tone, but you better cherish that tone cause it's never gonna show up again. It's also funny how this is supposed to be the 80s, but everything looks like it's straight out of the 1920s. It's basically got Resident Evil 4 syndrome. But then, we cut to our actual main characters. This is Julia, and her two kids, Dumbass and Plot Device. They're moving to Spain, which doesn't really look like Spain, don't worry about it, it's actually Ireland, because Julia's husband kicked the bucket a year ago. So, now they're broke. But she did inherit an abbey from her husband, which has been in his family for generations. For some reason, it's never explained. And that's why they're moving, to fix up the abbey and then sell it, which is incredibly stupid. First off, moving to Spain and fixing the abbey would cost quite a lot of money. Like, ungodly amounts of money. Money which you don't have, cause you don't have an income. That's what Julia says later in the movie anyways. And who would even buy it? And second, this was your first choice? Not, you know, getting a regular job, maybe getting your daughter a job if you're really in that bad of a financial situation. Yeah, it would suck, but I'm pretty sure it's a better plan than this. Anyways, they arrive at the abbey and meet the priest, Father Esquibel. The movie needs to establish that the daughter is a rebel, so she sits on the ledge and smokes. Whoa! Radical, dude! I might just cut that out. But that's her entire character. She's a rebel. It doesn't even really come up again, she's just annoying. I do like the set design though. The abbey looks pretty authentic and it's also pretty spooky even before the demons crawl out of the closet. Oh yeah, spoilers, the abbey's got a severe demon infestation. Plot Device goes down into the basement and finds a spooky crack in the wall, which totally won't come up again, I'm sure. We switch perspectives back to Gabriel. He's being interrogated by a couple cardinals because he performed that exorcism in the opening without the permission of the Vatican. Gabriel basically tells them to kick rocks because they're not his boss is the Pope, because that's the title of the movie. Then he walks off. This is another scene I like. It characterizes Gabriel as an obviously devout but still practical dude, because he understands that most of the cases he's assigned aren't actual possessions, they're just mentally ill people. It is kind of funny though that the asshole cardinal has a pretty American accent, even though I think he's supposed to be Italian. His last name is Sullivan. That's a pretty Italian name, right? I think. So then we get to the first spooky scene. Julia's dealing with some paperwork, but then she starts hearing some noises coming from the other room, and then she goes into Plot Device's room, but he's finally possessed. Next morning, the construction boys discover the crack and try to look inside. One of them lights a flare, but there's a gas leak in the crack, so they blow themselves up. So the chief tells Julia that he and his team aren't gonna work in these conditions. Meanwhile, Plot Device is having a stroke. So they take him to the hospital, but they can't find any medical cause for the seizure. So instead, the doc recommends a psychiatrist, which Julia doesn't follow up on for some reason. You know, you really suck at this whole parenting thing. Oh, and we're only 25 minutes into the movie. It is zooming past all the build-up to get to the exorcism shit. And I kinda get it, exorcism movies are insanely overdone, we all know where it's gonna go. So the movie just skips over all the build-up to get to the actually scary stuff. Except the scary stuff can't be scary without build-up. Remember The Conjuring? Remember how much build-up there is before the movie gets to the scary stuff? Even when the ghosts start showing up, it still takes a while before the metaphorical shit hits the metaphorical fan. Here, there's barely any build-up. Plot Device gets possessed in the first 20 minutes of this 1 hour and 40-minute movie, and then the movie immediately starts shoving jump scares down your throat. The lack of build-up also means that there's barely any time to get invested in the family. And yeah, obviously Gabriel is the real main character of the movie, and he's the guy you actually wanna watch, but the family's supposed to be the heart in the movie. If they don't work, then I don't care. It's like they don't all have to be like the next Walter White, or the next, I don't know, what's another good character? I can't even think of another good character right now. But like, they don't all have to be super deep, but you gotta give me something here. Okay, rant over. The family goes back to the Abbey, and then we get the greatest scene in the entire movie. The power goes out, and Plot Device wakes up. Julia goes over and hugs him because, you know, it's been a very tough time lately, and then Plot Device grabs her tit.
Baby's hungry, you fat cow! You never breastfed me, mommy!
This is the single greatest scare in any movie. It's the most amazing scene ever made. I mean, this is just art! This scene is terrible. I will not elaborate further. Plot Device tells them to get the priest, so they get Esquibel to deal with him, but Plot Device magically tosses him out of the room and tells them that they got the So the Pope sends Gabriel to the Abbey, and he goes into Plot Device's room to see if he really is possessed, and well, damn, guess he is. Gabriel doesn't take the demon too seriously at first, but the demon starts saying cliche shit, saying its name is Nightmare and blasphemy. Gabriel's trying to get the demon to tell him its name, because that's apparently the key to defeating it, but the demon's not a complete moron. Then Plot Device vomits up a bird, which genuinely grossed me out, and then he taunts Gabriel with his trauma. You see, back in World War II, Gabriel was with the Resistance, but all his buddies got shot and he feels kinda guilty about it. So Gabriel gets out of there cause he wasn't prepared to deal with the human embodiment of 4chan. So Gabriel talks with Julia, and she explains that the dad died in a car wreck while Plot Device was in the back seat, and that's why he hasn't said anything since. Did I mention that Plot Device hasn't talked at all yet? He hasn't talked at all yet. And that's his trauma. That's his demon. And then Gabe tells her that a mother's love is the closest thing to God's love, and
oh my god, I don't fucking care.
Wow, you mean the movie's theme is overcoming trauma, and that the key to defeating the demon is love? Well, how fucking original. Well, I guess I'll give the movie some credit. Love doesn't actually defeat the demon, which just makes me wonder what the point of this scene was. Seriously, you could cut all of this out and it wouldn't matter. Meanwhile, the daughter gets a spooky call from her dad. And let me just complain about some minor shit, cause I haven't done enough of that yet. The camera cannot stay still. It moves and pans all over the place in every single scene, and it gets annoying quickly. So, we move on to the first exorcism scene. Gabriel and Esquibel are getting ready to do some exorcism, while the demon tells Gabriel that he's gonna him, and that Gabriel's gonna come, and he's gonna hate that he's coming. So basically, Gabriel's gonna get the worst post-nut clarity of all time. Worse than realizing you failed No Nut November on the last day. The demon also calls Gabriel Soldier Boy. I know what you heard, you know what you heard. Gabriel is now famous rap god and game console designer Soulja Boy. So Soulja Boy and Esquibel begin the exorcism and plot device begins convulsing, but then the power shuts off again. Soulja Boy pulls out a lighter and we get a neat little scare, one of the few halfway decent scares in this movie. Then he gets confronted with another traumatic memory about a girl that he couldn't save, which allows the demon to overpower the exorcism. Then it taunts Esquibel about how he some girl despite being a priest. And Esquibel's apparently a sociopath because he then tries to straight up murder plot device. Gabriel pulls him off and they stop the exorcism. Daddy Esquibel then explains that he fell in love with a girl and she wanted to marry him, but he liked God more than her, so they broke up or she died or something. The movie doesn't really make it clear. Esquibel then figures out that the demon probably wanted Gabriel, and Gabriel realizes that he saw something important in the courtyard. Then we get a montage of shitty scares. Julia gets grabbed by presumably her husband's arm and it tries to drag her into the bed. The daughter gets yeeted out of bed and gets tossed around the closet for a bit. And Esquibel decides that using his remaining brain cells is a little too hard. So he goes into Plot Device's room, then Plot Device pulls a Tyson and bites his ear off. Meanwhile, out in the courtyard, Gabriel pulls the lid off this well thing, finds a bunch of skulls, throws a burning handkerchief down the hole, and it blows up in his face. Literally. Then he goes back inside and saves Julie and the daughter. Really? You're the most powerful demon out there, and you're defeated by the most weak saw sprayer ever? So they move the family into the chapel, and then Gabe shows Esquibel the spooky well. Then the daddy duo go down into the basement and find the evil ass crack. Gabriel breaks the wall and they find a hidden chamber. There's a dude in a cage in there, and Gabe explains that this guy was left here to house the demon. I'm honestly not sure they do a shit job of explaining it. Then they discover an even hiddener chamber. There's another dead dude on a throne, and Gabe explains that this guy was the greatest exorcist in history. And can I just ask, how the hell did you figure that out? This guy's just a crusty corpse. Does he have a name tag? Was he known for his cool exorcist staff? Anyways, the dead exorcist left a convenient journal, which reveals that the Spanish Inquisition was actually started when the exorcist guy got possessed by a demon. So the Spanish Inquisition was actually the work of the devil. The journal also reveals that the demon's name is Asmongold, the king of bad takes. Asmodeus, the king of hell. Meanwhile, up in the chapel, Julia wakes up because she hears some spooky cliche giggles, and notices that the daughter's gone. So she follows the cliche giggles back to Plot Device's room, where she finds that the daughter's now also possessed. She pulls the daughter away, but then the demon throws her against the wall, which looks hilarious. And then the demon also twists the daughter's head around, except somehow the daughter isn't dead, despite having her spine twisted like one of those twisty crazy straws, you know the ones. And no, I don't care, it's demon magic. She should be dead. But anyways, she somehow isn't, and injects Plot Device with a sedative. We cut back to the daddy duo, and Gabriel realizes that he's gotta confess his sins if he wants this exorcism to succeed. So he does, and we learn that the girl he saw earlier was one of Gabriel's past cases, but this girl wasn't actually possessed, she was just mentally ill because she was getting abused by the priests. I know, how surprising. But Gabe didn't help her because he's an exorcist, not a therapist. But the girl ended up painting the sidewalk with her brain. And her death is just hilarious because they decided to put her death scene in slow-mo. F***ing slow-mo. And while she's falling, she stretches her arms out like an upside-down cross. Ooh. So that's Gabe's trauma that he has to overcome. Esquibel tells Gabe that he shouldn't feel guilty because he knows Gabe as a humble and devout man. You've known him for like a day! So, then they begin another exorcism. Gabriel sees the girl again, Esquibel sees his girlfriend again, and she's like, hey, remember these titties? But then Esquibel's like, no, you can't tempt me anymore, harlot. I unsubbed from your OnlyFans. This isn't even an Italian accent, what the f-? Then the demons eventually subdued, but apparently Gabe and Esquibel suck at their job because the demon just jumps over to the daughter. Excuse me? Julia, didn't you fucking tell them that the daughter's also possessed? Are you f***ing kidding me? Are you just a complete brain-dead f***ing moron? You just forgot to mention that Asmongold's also in your daughter's guts now? Or did you think that that little detail wasn't important enough to mention? Anyways, the demon begins murdering everyone, but it tells Gabe that if he just lets himself be possessed, then they'll let everyone else go. So Gabe lets himself be possessed, and Esquibel gets everyone else out of there. The demon forces Gabriel to go down into the basement, all while it's taunting him that he fell into the demon's plan, and that it never cared about possessing plot device, and that its whole plan all along was to possess Gabriel so that it could invade the Vatican. And I think this is supposed to be a twist, but I thought you two figured that out earlier. Wasn't that the whole point of that scene? Literally, the first thing the demon said was a wrong fucking priest. There's only 2 fucking priests in the movie. It's not exactly difficult to figure out which priest it means. So the demon forces Gabriel to go down into the hidden chamber, and this is where the movie goes completely insane. Gabriel seemingly overcomes the possession for a moment, but then an angel rises out of the water, but is actually the girl that pancaked herself. But it's actually a demon. Esquibel then follows Gabe into the chamber, but Gabriel's been completely overtaken at this point. Then we get this like Avengers fight, but with prayers. We get some bad CGI, and then Esquibel expels the demon. But we're not done yet, cause the demon girl appears and tries to strangle Gabe. Yes, this demon still just has to strangle him. The OnlyFans girl also jumps out the Iron Maiden and begins just completely thrashing Esquibel while she's also naked and covered in blood. Esquibel then presses his crucifix into her forehead and she explodes, and then they both banish the demon back down to hell. And then we skip forward a couple months. We're back at the Vatican. Gabriel and Esquibel meet up with the Pope, and he tells them that there's many other places where demons are imprisoned. So he sends them down into this exorcist headquarters thing and tasks them with finding all these other places and exorcising all the other fallen angels, setting up this like in superhero sequel where they'll take on even more powerful demons. And it will get a sequel, cause it made back more than its budget, and honestly, I really want that sequel. Oh, and the asshole cardinal that wanted to fire Gabriel, yeah, he's dead, or sick, or possessed, or something. The church also bought the abbey, and the families moved back home.
これで綺麗に話がまとまったな。それは気のせいだ。
Listen, this movie is bad. The characters all suck. Julia sucks at parenting, and she's just a complete dumbass. The daughter's just there to be annoying and to get possessed for a dumbass twist. And Henry's barely even a character, which is why I literally haven't even used his name until now, because he's literally just there to make the plot happen. Gabriel's the only one that actually matters. The family is literally only there so that the plot can happen. They matter so little that the last time we see them is when they're driving away from the Abbey. They have no real effect on the plot outside of plot device getting possessed, and none of them have any kind of arc. There's some half-ass bullshit about overcoming trauma, but there's never really a moment where they actually overcome anything. Gabriel's the only one with an arc. Well, and maybe Esquibel, but you know. But even then, it's pretty shallow. And they all make the absolute dumbest decisions ever. Julia just casually forgets to mention that her daughter's also possessed. I don't care if she broke her daughter out of it. Any sane human being would mention that little detail. Gabriel and Esquibel are also apparently on the verge of complete brain death because they take way too long to figure out the demon's plan, even though the demon basically just tells them numerous times. And the plot is just terrible in general. There's so many things that happen for no reason. They hyped up finding out the demon's name, but it actually didn't matter in the end. They just say it a couple times during the second exorcism, but it doesn't really do anything, so what was the point of making such a big deal out of it? The asshole cardinal gets possessed for no reason. The Pope starts getting sick with demon syphilis, I guess, halfway through the movie, and it keeps coming back to him, but he also doesn't matter. Hell, the entire theme of the movie is overcoming trauma, but that really doesn't end up doing anything. They just slap a crucifix on the demon's forehead, do a little prayer, and ta-da, it's defeated. And the horror is basically non-existent. There's no tension, no build-up, and the terrible, I can't even call them scares, just end up being hilarious. If it wasn't for how hilarious the movie is and how insane the ending is, then this would just be a pretty standard Exorcist movie with a lot of dumb moments and Russell Crowe. It's clear they really want to make this a franchise, and they'll probably get a franchise, and I honestly want it. I want them to go all in on the crazy Exorcist demon battles. I want more demons saying more extremely dumb things. I want Gabriel to be like an Exorcist John Wick. Basically, make it Fast and Furious, but for religious horror. That's honestly the only way I can see a sequel working. So basically, this movie is terrible. It sucks, and I love it because of how terrible it is. The literal only good part in the movie is Russell Crowe. He actually puts an effort, and Gabriel's the only remotely likable character in the entire movie. But that doesn't save it. It still sucks, and I love it because it sucks. If you want something to watch while you're drunk, watch this. If you want to turn your brain off and laugh at some really stupid shit for a night, watch this. If you want, you know, a good movie, don't watch this. Anyways, I'm gonna go practice the deeply unholy and satanic ritual known as yoga. Bye! Well, the demon tells Gabriel that he's gonna f*** him. While the demon tells Gabriel that he's I can't. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.